Oh boy.
Is my camera, do I look a little?
I'm sorry.
I was trying to see if I looked a little,
We're live.
oh, sorry. My bad, y'all.
What's up, guys? Monday night. We're here for a Monday night edition of Quick Blitz. I saw somebody in the comments. We are streaming on Twitter.
Everywhere.
We're streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Instagram. So if you are not following us, please make sure you're doing so. We got a lot to talk about. Also, comments. We will try to get your comments up here. We love the fan interaction, so please make sure you are commenting, and we will read and get some of those comments on camera. Sheena, what we got?
Man. Well, for starters, I'm going to stand 10 toes down that was a winnable game yesterday if Andy Dalton is halfway competent. Just halfway competent. But overall, just a disappointment. Like, this was a chance for them to really make, a statement. And you had been saying all week, Vashti, is this a measuring stick for the defense? Because you're up against the reigning MVP, you're up against James Cook. The defense, the run defense in particular, had been great. 6 sacks last week. J.C. Horn with the 2 picks. They have been playing lights out, but this was a true litmus test for the defense.
Yeah, and they failed. I mean, for real. This was the Panthers, and JC was one of the people. He said his dad, and it's crazy. We talked during the week because he said notoriously his dad does not give him props on his play. That's kind of that tough love. I can't imagine having a dad who played at the highest level, and now you're playing at the highest level. I know it's a different type of dynamic and relationship. However, his dad said this could be a franchise changing or franchise I forget
a culture
the
shift,
term.
really. Yeah, I know what you're saying,
the
though.
Panthers, if they were to be a team like the Bills, who are a lot of people's Super Bowl favorites, maybe to get to at least to the AFC Championship, and for them to come in on a 3-game win streak and to beat them at home would have been monumental. Instead,
Andy Dalton came in there and pissed the bed.
But
I mean, and to be fair, I saw a couple of, Andy definitely didn't do them any favors. You cannot give the Bills the ball in the red zone. You just can't. You can't do that. But you also can't let somebody run for 200 yards on you.
Well, and you know what? I agree, but I think it started with Andy because
it definitely started. He set the tone for sure.
They got into the red zone. They had put together a good drive, and boom, a turnover. And this is what Andy had to say after the game.
Well, turnovers didn't help. We had a lot of momentum at times, and I turned the ball over a couple times that I didn't give as much of a chance today, and so I've got to be better. I think that's the moral of it.
I mean, what else can we get? That's all we can get, right?
I mean, that really is all he could say, because I mean, we saw the material, but I heard somebody in a space at halftime say that sack on 3rd down as time expired right before the halftime, that should have counted as a turnover, and I could not agree more.
Yeah,
you cannot take a sack there. You cannot take a sack there. You get down to the 4-yard line and you come away with nothing. They had 17 seconds left. You come away with nothing. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, and this is why you have a guy like Andy Dalton, right? So this does not happen.
Exactly.
You at least are able, and there's not much of a drop off. So there were a lot of, I mean, and we're gonna talk about this. If Andy is gonna play like that, then let's see what Hendon got. Because
why not? Why not?
You're down mightily in the 4th quarter. The game is completely out of reach. You elevated Hendon Hooker. You brought him onto the practice squad for a reason. Andy Dalton is at the end of his career. Why not see what Hendon has? Why not see what he's going to do? I asked Canales about this after the game. This is what he said. End of the game with the clearly out of reach. Why did you stick with Dalton? Why not go to Hooker at that time?
Yeah, I just wanted to give him a chance to get us a successful drive, and we were able to move the ball down there and get a touchdown on that one. But it was just a chance to bounce back. I love finish. I preach finish. Talk about the guys, trying to give them an opportunity. After a really sloppy first half, to go back in there and try to get something going. What can you tell us?
I don't like that. I don't like that.
I don't like it either because this isn't Pop Warner. You're not on must plays. You're not trying to stroke an ego. Andy Dalton has been in the league for a long time. He's been benched. He's been cut. He's been released. Sitting the hell down after you look like you're playing like you could prompt an FBI investigation. I don't think that that's the time to massage feelings. And I don't know. I will say this. I am completely shocked by Dave Canales in this game. And I know a lot of people have had their criticisms and critiques of him. I like the fact that he seemed to be doing a Panthers first, what's best for the Panthers, no emotions type of approach, all the way up to, letting go of Shaq Thompson. The Brian Burns thing, it was out of their league. That was on the previous regime. By the time they entered negotiations, they were dead in the water. But I had faith in him doing the not so popular thing. I mean, he benched Bryce Young after 2 weeks last season. So to hear him kind of massage Andy, to hear him kind of massage Chuba, which we'll talk about in a minute, I was a little surprised. I knew that he would stick to his guns as far as starting this game, rotating the running back series between Rico and Chuba. But I thought that when he found that it was not working, I figured that he would at least adjust mid-game. That shocked me the most, that he stuck to that no matter what.
Yeah, and the hooker thing is capped to me because when the game was out of reach in New England, he took Bryce out. It wasn't a benching, but he took Bryce out, and Dalton played at the end of that game. He was 5 for 6, 58 yards. He did score a touchdown. But, I mean, why not afford a guy like Hendon Hooker who showed flashes in college, at least see what he's got in the tank? You're going to need in this league, you got to have a viable backup. Hendon might be a viable backup. Somebody also mentioned in the space, and shout out to people who come in the spaces, and I thought this was a very good point. Somebody said your backup should mirror your starting quarterback more than what the Panthers have right now, because you have two different quarterbacks, two different styles of play, two different rhythms, and you're naturally not going to be able to run the same type of game plan that you might with Bryce that you do with Andy, and that really throws everything off. Granted, the Panthers had a whole week to prepare, but Dave is cool. I did not like that move not to play Hendon at least in the fourth quarter, at least for one series.
See what you have. You got to see what you have. Andy Dalton has way more years of football behind him than he does ahead of him, and you have to start kind of preparing for next season, because I know they extended Andy, but was Andy extended for more than 1 year? Was it a 1 or 2 year?
I'll have to look. I know they extended him recently, but I don't know specifically how long. Y'all hit us up in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got 641 people watching us. Carlo, what's up? Doug, Dave is in here. Dave said, y'all know they won't gonna go to Hooker. Why not?
And that's sad for someone to know that. Again, like I said, I was shocked because he does not seem like the type to massage feelings up until yesterday's game to me. I felt like he was the person that made the decision he wanted to make, whether it was popular or not. And that was what shocked me the most about Dave Canales yesterday. Like, that's what shocked me the most. 2-year extension, I'm afraid. People get cut every day, Charlie. Charlie Martin said that Andy Dalton signed a 2-year extension. This is year 1 of that 2-year extension. So either way, Hendon Hooker has way more years of football ahead of him than Andy Dalton does. And I feel like from what we saw yesterday and what we saw at the end of the Jets game, like, let's not forget that defense won that Jets game after Bryce left in the fourth quarter. Defense had to step up and win that game. It didn't make sense to me to not at least see what Hendon Hooker had. He said he wanted to, give Andy a chance to redeem himself. Andy had 3 previous quarters to redeem himself. He had a halftime to regather himself, and he came out and he continued to stink.
Yeah, Dave, shout out Dave again, PNP. He's shown he won't go to young guys unless forced. He's not there yet. And when you say he's not there yet, I was having this conversation with my mom. Younger coaches have to go through this process where, and I think even with Evero, like they're stuck on their processes. My process works, and they're just not as amenable to change and in-game changes. Like after that first half, there's no way Chuba should have started the second half. No. I mean, there's no way. And we're going to talk about that later, but let's give defense some smoke. They deserve
defense got to get some smoke.
This is what Derek Brown had to say after the game.
We had a running back go for 200 yards on us, right? So I mean, you can't have that on Sundays, right? I'm prideful in this defense. I'm prideful in stopping the run, and we didn't get that done today. So I feel like that falls a lot on us up front. So I mean, now we just gotta get back in and go back to work, man. I mean, that's as simple as that.
You guys have seen.
James Cook's yards came before initial contact, so I mean there was just some big gaps in there. So I mean, was it fundamentally just a breakdown today, or
no? I mean, there was plays where we just got to get it figured out. It's simple as that.
This is what JC said.
Right after the game, you haven't had a chance to look at tape or anything like that, but just what were your initial impressions of what you felt like went wrong today on the defensive side of the ball?
Everything. I think they had over 200 yards rushing. Whenever that happens, it's hard to stop. And the whole playbook open, so it's hard to stop anything. And just playing complimentary football, we didn't do a good job of that today. We couldn't stop anything. The offense couldn't really get going, so that's a recipe for disaster, and that's why the score was what it was.
I mean, coming into the game, the Panthers had
swag.
The Panthers had a top 10 rushing defense, and the Bills had one of the worst rushing defenses. And
they were ranked number 31. Opposite. They were ranked 31st out 31. Of 32 teams. 31 out of 32 teams, and the Panthers have been having success on the ground. And again, like you said, it just completely flip-flopped. It looked like, the Bills had the number one rushing one of the top rushing defenses and top rushing attacks. We knew what James Cook was going to do. We knew what Josh Allen was going to do, but Josh Allen didn't even have to do anything yesterday. He didn't have to do anything.
I was saying after the game, Josh Allen, they didn't even make him have to play like an MVP caliber quarterback. Mm-mm. Josh Allen, low-key, looked pretty mid. His stats were 12 for 19, 163 yards, and 1 touchdown. At the end, they put Mitch Trubisky in. But Josh Allen, I mean, and even on the ground, three rushes for 7 yards. Like, he wasn't the one, but when you have Cook go for 216 yards, he had a career day against a defense who had 131 yards on the ground combined in the previous 3 games. This is just as much the fault of the defense as it is
for sure. For sure. And I mean, 153 of those yards came in the first half. I'm venture to say I don't think James Cook played the fourth quarter at all. So you have like 200. He could have easily had 300 yards. Easy. And like you said, it was just, again, the offense set the tone, but at the end of the day, defense has to do what they do. And again, you cannot let someone rush for 200 yards. You just can't do that. I don't know how many games have been won that have allowed 200 yards on the ground, let alone 200 yards to one player. That's an interesting stat. I need to look that up. But, we said all along this was a litmus test for this defense. People on here were asking if it was time to give Evero his flowers. I told y'all not to give him that bouquet yet. I told you to give him a rose or two. And this is why you have to give them a rose or two. I know that he cannot go out here and force gap integrity, but you have to coach it. And if you see that it's not working, you got to figure out what does. It was just all around embarrassing, very disappointing for the home crowd. Like, people are starting to get back into Panthers
what
football.
Home crowd?
You're right. When you saw the Bills defense hyping up the crowd like they were in Highmark Stadium,
disrespectful. And then
Josh it was Allen loud. It got loud too.
Josh Allen took down another one of Cam's records, the most rushing and passing touchdowns
by a quarterback in his home,
in the house that Cam Newton built, in front of a basically home crowd. That was so embarrassing. If I played on the Panthers, I would be embarrassed to see the takeover that they had. I did see somebody mention that this was pre-planned. Bills fans in advance of the season got together and said they were taking over 3 stadiums, the Panther Stadium, Atlanta, and Miami. So, and apparently they took over Atlanta, the stadium in Atlanta, but lost, right?
But
They came
lost.
and got an L. It was bad.
To be on that short list, though.
Matter of fact, I took an Uber to the game, and the guy said, well, is this a Panthers game? I see all of these Buffalo fans. I said, ooh.
My escort asked me, are you here for the Panthers or the Bills? I said, are you serious or no? He had to ask. I mean, again, not only was the defense hyping up the crowd was loud. You saw them dancing on the sidelines with their fans like they were at Highmark Stadium. And until the Panthers are able to consistently win and consistently put a good product on the field, they're going to be on that short list that opposing teams feel like they can come and take over the stadium.
And
it's a reason Buffalo had Carolina on that list. It's a reason.
And you got to make these opposing fans say, okay, we don't want to go all the way to Carolina for an L. We don't want to go all the way to Carolina for an L. And, you know, the Panthers had an opportunity to do that. Bottom line is they're not there yet. Now, they're still trending upward. We're not going to that 3-game win streak was not a fluke. And they were playing without Bryce. They're still trending upward. But this is a team that's trending upward. They're not there yet. There were a couple of injuries. Brady Christensen out for the foreseeable future with a ruptured Achilles, more than likely. Cade Mays went out. I don't think that one was as serious. They never officially ruled him out.
Yeah.
But we'll get an injury report on Wednesday. Derek Brown didn't end the
Taylor
game.
Moton.
Right.
Taylor Moton went out with the knee.
Taylor Moton went out with a knee, which is interesting because Taylor never missed a game. And now it's like,
as soon as they wrote that article on him being Iron Man, he's been missing games. I don't know who wrote it, but as soon as they wrote that and talked about how the first 7 or 8 seasons, he didn't miss any games. As soon as that article came out, he's been hit by the injury bug. I mean, they finished this game with only 2 of their starting 5 offensive linemen.
I had somebody who works for the Panthers say that in a pinch, if another offensive lineman went down, there was a certain tight end who was about to move to the offensive line. That's how it went. That's how it was.
That's how dire it was. That's how dire it was.
Trevin Wallace went out. He was evaluated for a concussion, cleared. It was just a stinger. Derek Brown went out. He said it was nothing after the game. He basically just said that his knee got caught his foot got caught in the turf. So he is fine. Turf. We'll learn more about the offensive lineman. Canales did say today that who's the offensive lineman that went to NC State?
Chandler Zavala.
Zavala should be trying to make his way back. So it's just gonna be a makeshift offensive line right now. And you know, a couple of comments. Carlo, I watched it from the house, and when it was 3rd and 11 for the Panthers, all you could hear was the crowd like the Panthers were in Buffalo. All game. Yeah, and then Charlie, shout out Charlie. Thanks for the comments, guys. Did Shaq know enough from our defensive scheme that he showed them how to expose? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Icky even said it. Icky was asked, like, did it seem like they knew what was coming? Yes. He even called one out. I'm sure Shaq Thompson sat in on every single meeting, offense and defense. He gave them the blueprint.
That's smart.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. This was his get back game.
Yeah.
And he got back. Temper.
Did you hear? I don't
go ahead.
know if you heard Sam Franklin. So it was Curtis Samuel walked out. Then Shaq Thompson walked out. Then Sam Franklin's behind him screaming, "This still my shit." Curtis Samuel walks out after him. 3 straight former Panthers players walking back into that locker room on the winning side. I don't think so, because I forgot he was on the team.
Ooh.
No, I mean, like,
shout
I
out
forgot.
Sam Franklin though. He
I
always
forgot.
gave good.
He
He always
always
gave
gave.
good
He
quotes.
did. He did. He always gave good quotes, but I did not see him impact the game as much yesterday as Shaq did. I'm just saying.
Well, you
But
know,
if you
Sam was
don't,
always
but
a talker.
he was always a talker. But if you don't want that to happen, you got to win the game.
You gotta win the game. What's up, Doug? Shout out, what's up, Doug? So is that the reason why we brought the QB in from the Bills? They could have left him where he was in Florida. Because
Definitely could have.
what was that? Timbers flared after the game. We want to talk about this.
Get off me! No, it's me. Get off me! It's me. No, get off me!
First of all, DB's arm strength. A'Shawn Robinson is not a small man
At all.
And he picked him up.
Somebody said, why didn't they have that energy on the field? I hate those type of comments because, like, I mean,
he's one of 11.
But he was getting into it with Dion. What's his last name?
Dawkins.
Dion Dawkins. And Dion Dawkins tried to say it was the scoreboard. He was like, shout out Kimberly Martin. She was the one that posted that video. She said she asked him what was up with the emotions, and he basically pointed at the scoreboard. But I saw a full clip, and Dion walked up to A'Shawn, and it wasn't like a friendly conversation. So I knew Dion said something to A'Shawn that might have been in the trash talking realm. And that elicited that response. Because A'Shawn is not, like, he's a guy that is he could come across very intimidating. He's not the type that I think would start a fight, but would finish a fight.
Well, I will say this.
Oh,
I interviewed him for Defending the Bank this summer, which I need to link that later. He said he'd be talking Vashti, but he says that he talks.
Really?
So he said only the person he's talking to can hear him, but he talks. He's not the loud, boisterous, rah-rah guy, but he said he talks. I said, well, what's the craziest thing you've ever said? He was like, I cannot tell you that.
Well, I think Dion said something to him. Well, maybe it was a situation where A'Shawn was talking and Dion, they were going back and forth, and then after the game, Dion kind of got the last laugh, and A'Shawn was like, "Nah, bro, I'm not with that." Yeah. Anyways, I'm never mad at that type of stuff. I think that those emotions are pretty good. I mean, it's good to see. You would like to have that channeled more on the field, but
for sure.
Listen, you can get the smoke pre, during, and post game.
Not pre, during, and post, but yeah, for sure. I agree. Couldn't agree with you more.
We got something to talk about. This is what everybody wants to talk about. Rico Dowdle versus Chuba Hubbard. This was big coming out of the game. Let's go to the stats because the numbers don't lie. Chuba had 12 rushing attempts for a total of 34 yards, averaging 2.8 yards per carry. His longest run was for 5 yards. Rico Dowdle, 8 attempts, 54 yards, 6.8 yards per game, yards per rush, and he had a 24-yard play. I think that 24-yard play was the longest play of the game. Let's go to Canales. We talked to Dave today. He was asked about the clear discrepancy between Chuba and Rico when it comes to production on the field. This is what he had to say.
Yeah, it's a fair observation, and Chuba's meant a lot to this organization, certainly to the identity that we wanted to build our team on, and wanted to give Chuba the opportunity to go out there and to continue to impact our team in a positive way. We cannot ignore the fact that Rico has been exceptional, in a couple of games, and then in the opportunities he's had over the last 2 weeks, he's made some some excellent plays. Love the tempo and violence that he's running with. And these are all things that we're talking about and working through this week as we look back, on these last 4 games and really taking a snapshot of what's been successful for us. These are conversations that we do definitely have to have.
What do you think those conversations, what's being said in these conversations?
Listen, Rico is the hot hand right now. This does not mean I don't think he'll be benched, and I don't think Chuba would take it as a benching. But honestly, the best thing that they could have done was put him on a pitch count coming back from that injury. They could have easily finessed that. Hey, you've been out, let's slowly work you back in. They could have finessed that. Going into this, let's alternate series, and then now you got to come back and say, oh, that didn't work because you weren't productive enough. That makes your conversation a little different. They could have eased him into it and made the coming back from injury part just as much a part of the narrative. So, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
If winning is important, you go with your best player at the time.
You have to.
I remember we heard ad nauseum when he benched Bryce, which was a very bold move at the time. I'm doing what's best for the Carolina Panthers. There was no sparing feelings. There was no oh, this person is meant a lot. He's a leader on our team. He did what was best for the Carolina Panthers. Chuba just has not been that good this season. And you have a guy do what Rico did 2 games in a row, going up against the worst rushing defense in the league, and he only carries the ball 12 times. Come on.
He didn't get his first carry of the second half until there was 4 minutes and 59 seconds on the clock. This is somebody who all eyes have been. This is the NFC Offensive Player of the Week, 2 weeks ago? Yeah. Against the 31st ranked rushing team. And again, like you said, no feelings or emotions were involved in the benching of Bryce. That's what shocked me about this, because I expected Canales to be, like I told you, I said, I think he's going to go into this rotating series, but I think he's going to adjust when it doesn't work. When he did not adjust, and then he doubled down on it after the game when I asked him about it. I'm like, hey, did you ever consider changing your mind? And he's like, no, we like the plan. We just got to execute. And I think what we got from him today was him going home and actually watching the film and we shouldn't have stuck with the plan. The plan stunk. The plan did not work. And so at least he came back and at least was able to make that adjustment today. But that, like I said, when we first started the stream, that's the thing that has surprised me the most about Canales. People can say that he's overly positive. He's this, that. Somebody say he has a cheerleading coaching style. You can say all of those things, but up until this situation here, in this game with Andy and with Chuba and massaging those feelings, we had seen him be very diplomatic and stick to what's best for the Panthers, what's best for the Panthers. I do not know why he's deviating from that right now. That part is very confusing to me.
Yeah, because yesterday what was best for the Panthers was to sit Andy in the fourth quarter at least and see what you have. And after Rico flashed, I think Rico's first series, he looked considerably better. And I remember tweeting, I said, if Dave Canales doesn't come back with Rico, it's going to tell me everything I need to know about the game. And
it told you everything you needed to know about the game.
And it told me everything I needed to know about the game. And obviously there have been conversations today about that. And like you said, this is not a sport where people get participation trophies. This is supposed to be one of those sports that's actually the best players get an opportunity. And if you aren't the best, AJ, then this would be a good time to let the world know on how great of a human Nick Mangle.
I don't know why Pat McAfee just started talking on my phone. I didn't hear that.
If you aren't the best player, then you have to take that on the chin and understand. Right. We talked to Chuba today, and you know what? Shout out to Chuba for talking today, because he knew that these questions were going to get asked. This is a long clip, guys, but I want to show it to you all. If you haven't seen it, I posted it kind of late on Instagram. We got over 1,300 people in here. Thanks for watching us, guys. We appreciate all the support. But yeah, let's hear what Chuba had to say today. Thanks for taking the time. I'm just curious, with all the questions about running back and who starts and who doesn't start in the trading a series, how do you handle that personally? Um, the question marks surrounding you and the playing time in Rico Dowdle. How do you process all of that?
To be honest, I mean, you guys obviously know me for the last 4 or 5 years. I'm someone that just prides myself on work in everything I do. I'm a man of faith, a follower of Christ, and whatever my journey comes with, I take the good and the bad. So in moments like this, I just continue to work. I've been through been through worse days and worse things, and people have scrutinized me for for stuff all 5 years I've been here. But one thing is, I just pride myself on my work, like I said, and also just helping us get wins here. So I do whatever it takes, and just continue with that mindset.
There's a part two to this, but I want to get your thoughts on that right there.
I'm not surprised that this is his approach to things because it's not like Chuba's always been the guy. Chuba knows what it's like to earn that spot. Chuba knows what it's like to come in and spell someone while they're injured and just do such an amazing job that they're like, hey, not only are we kind of doubling down with you, we're going to start you and we're going to pay you. So he knows, he's been on both sides of this thing. He knows how it works. I do think that he's one of those guys that, and that's why it is interesting that, Dave Canales is kind of handling this with kid gloves because I don't think Chuba's a guy that needs that. I don't think he's a big ego guy. I don't. I think that what happens is he's going to go get back in the lab. He knows what else is in that running back room. He knew that they signed another 1,000-yard rusher because let's not make a mistake now. Rico Dowdle was not a scrub when he came here. Rico Dowdle is coming off of 1,000 yards just like Chuba did. So the fact that Chuba was getting the lion's share before his injury, that was the loyalty that they were expressing. But now that injury, unfortunately, it opened the door for somebody else. If this is truly a next man up league, that's what it is. I think that Chuba knows that. Chuba understands that. I do not think he's someone that you have to handle this all delicately with. I think that you have the conversation. I think Dave Canales is more worried about the conversation than Chuba Hubbard is. Chuba has eyes. Chuba saw what Rico did. Chuba knows that he's going to have to barbecue or mildew. I love that little phrase. It's one of my catchphrases.
But
he knows that.
Yeah. And this is putting a battery in Chuba's back. Chuba has always been a guy who is like, he's been motivated by the media. He doesn't like us because he remembers us talking about him when he was not playing good.
He did not have hands. He could not catch out the back.
But he's going to take this. He's going to use this as fuel. Here, that was my question. Joe followed up with another question about playing time. Let's hear the rest from Chuba.
Thank you.
Hey, Chuba.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Dave was just on here and said he's going to look at, this division of carries again and said that he can't ignore the exceptional play that Rico's had of late. And I know he hadn't talked to you yet, so I'm getting the cart in front of the horse a little bit. But if it ends up where it's not 50-50 as much as it has been, how, kind of following up with what Vashti had, how will you handle that?
I mean, whether it's 70-30, 50-50, 100 my way or Rico's way, whatever it is, my focus is winning. Obviously, this has been a topic of conversation for the last few weeks, but my main focus is never solely about me. It's always about the team and winning games. So, like I said, I pride myself on my work and just helping my team get what needs to be done. And whatever that looks like, I'm always been committed to that since I've been in Carolina. So that's where my mind's at.
I don't think that's word salad. I believe him.
I do too. Chuba, listen, Chuba has his ways to motivate himself, but I believe that Chuba wants to win. I believe that Chuba sees the writing that's on the wall. I believe that Chuba also knows that he'll get another chance at this one. Listen, they paid Chuba. Chuba is a guy for the long term. Rico's trying to get that contract. I don't think that they're going to be able to keep both of those guys on that type of contract. It's going to have to be one or the other. And you also have Jonathan Brooks, who you drafted high, who will be returning probably in the offseason. from knee surgery. So Rico is trying to get on. He's trying to get on. And so if you got to sit back, then you just got to sit back. This is the NFL.
Because I think Rico's just on a 1 year, right?
Yes, he's on a 1 year deal. He's on a 1 year deal. So he's trying to get that bag. And so, I don't think Chuba's feelings are going to get hurt by this. And like you said,
I don't think so either.
Canales was trying to spare feelings, which you said is shocking. A couple of people were talking about Canales. I had faith in Canales until this point. Reverend Saul said that. And then somebody else said Dave is a fraud. I would not go that far. I'm not out on Dave Canales. I'm not out on Dave Canales. Now, did we question some of the decision making when it comes to this Rico Dowdle thing and not playing Hendon Hooker during the game? Yes, but this team is better than it was last year. This team is better than it was, and the talent is better. The team is better than
what they did yesterday, and the team is better than what they showed yesterday. They are, and Dan Morgan and Dave Canales knew that this was a project. I say it all the time. That team that they came into should have been coming off of an 0-17 season. Those 2 walk-off field goals for those 2 wins under Frank Wright, fool's gold. And so, of course, I'm not into participation trophies, but they knew that this was going to have to be built brick by brick, and they're not going to make the decisions that everyone agrees with. Again, like you said, my biggest thing was, again, I did not take him for an emotional coach. You benched the number 1 draft pick that the organization leveraged the entire future assets for, and DJ Moore. You sold the farm. Sold the farm to get Bryce Young, trade up to get Bryce Young. You bench him 2 games into his second season. 2 games into your rookie head coaching season. 2 weeks into Dan Morgan's rookie GM tenure. It showed that, look, number 1, it showed that the front office is on one accord, because if one person didn't want to bench Bryce wouldn't have got benched. Showed that they were on one accord. It showed that they had confidence in each other. It showed that they felt confident in their plan. So right now that the writing's on the wall and the obvious answer is right there, it was shocking to me that Dave Canales is zigging instead of zagging. I will say that. Do I think he is, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, Patriots, Dynasty, Andy Reid type of coaching ability? No, I'm not saying that. He's still very much a very new head coach, but I felt like he was taking the team first, emotion second approach since he got here. So this is shocking to me. But it looks like, at least he seems like he's about to right that wrong. He's not going to let it go, a full season. All it took was really the Jets game and yesterday to be like, you know what? The biggest difference is that I'm trying to make this plan work and it ain't working. Let's go back to what was working. Eventually, you might run into a team where Rico's having a little bit of a struggle and you need a hard-nosed, short yardage guy, and Chuba's your guy for that. It is okay to have a dual running back system. It's okay to do that. But I felt like the alternating series messed with chemistry on top of the O-line injuries, because there was instability with that yesterday. Again, three injuries that they ended up having to leave the game for. And then you can't get into a rhythm. And Andy Dalton wasn't getting into a rhythm. Austin Corbett is snapping the ball, is bouncing off of Chuba's elbow. Like, everything was just so disjointed that throwing in let's keep rotating these running backs was a recipe for disaster. And it makes your offense extremely predictable. Everyone knows that those guys run completely different. So you can kind of predict what the play call is going to be depending on the back that's in the game. And that's the last thing you want to do as an offensive play caller, is limit yourself to half of your playbook because of the running back that you have on the field.
Yeah, and I just realized, Sheena, we didn't come in, we didn't introduce ourselves. We might have
I'm Sheena, y'all.
And we don't have our names at the bottom of the screen. Guys, you are watching Quick Blitz. I am Vashti. I'm founder and editor-in-chief of Carolina Blitz, at Keep Blitzing on Twitter. And Sheena, introduce yourself so everybody knows.
I'm Sheena Quick. I cook food and I report for Fox Sports 1340. I same screen name on Instagram, Twitter. In my 10th season covering the Carolina Panthers, and it's probably one of the more exciting seasons since I've been on the beat. But yeah, I can't believe our names usually pop up here, Vashti. Yeah. Guys, we're new to this streaming thing. We're trying to get out. You see me kind of playing with my resolution. I don't know if it's looking weird because of the Wi-Fi. It looked much clearer last week. I don't know, but we're going to get it together. And the fact that 1,600 of you guys are in here rocking with us as we navigate this, we appreciate you so much.
Somebody said we all know who you are. Not everybody, but we are 2 beat writers who cover the Panthers for our respective outlets, but we come together to give this to y'all. We're also friends, so it makes it much easier. Thank you guys. Y'all, we said, but I mean, it's proper to give an introduction, right? So, don't gas us up. All right.
Please don't get me in trouble.
All right. So you talked about it. Week 9, right? We're in week 9. Wow, this season is going by pretty fast. They got a Green Bay team. Did you watch the game last night?
Hold on, man. Somebody wants to give us money. It said make y'all donations available when you can.
Oh, I don't even know how to do that.
I don't need, like, guys, we are new to this. We are new to this. So if you got advice, drop those.
We'll figure that out
advice in the comments too.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We will figure that out. That's Preston, Sheena.
Yeah, I saw after I said the name out loud. I said, "Oh, okay." Preston.
But yeah, so the Panthers traveled to Green Bay to face a Packers team that is pretty darn good. I think that Bryce Young will be back.
I think so too. Dave did say that, he did some running today and they're looking to have him back as a participant, at least a limited participant in practice on Wednesday. He did not participate in practice at all last week. I mean, we saw the videos, we saw him jogging, doing a couple of dropbacks, but he still worked off to the side and was not even a limited participant. He was completely DNP all week. We will see on Wednesday what he looks like, Vashti.
Yeah, I think that we got some tea that it would be 2 weeks. Some people have reported that it would be 2 weeks. I think it's going to be a 1 week break for Bryce. And especially after what we saw with Andy Dalton, there will be a heightened sense of urgency to getting him back on the field. How much better are the Panthers with Bryce, though? Do you think that makes a huge difference? I think it's
a wake up. Yes, it was a wake up call to everybody, especially to you, Cody Lack.
Oh, we calling out specifics, huh?
Because he comes on Beyonce's internet every week with all this slander. He was doubling down that Andy was going to get a win yesterday, and for him to come out and do what he did, and for the record, guys, I like Andy Dalton. He has great hair, nice guy, great personality, but he was the Bills' second best player yesterday. And, he is a fan favorite of the Buffalo Bills. I wonder if they donated to his charity again yesterday. Because they first initially fell in love with Andy Dalton when he got Sean McDermott, his very first playoff appearance. He snapped a 17-year playoff drought for the Buffalo Bills in McDermott's rookie season as the head coach over there. So they always have love for Andy Dalton. And I'm pretty sure they continued that love yesterday because he was just gift wrapping those turnovers to them.
Those Bryce haters got missing. Some of them were missing. They love the fact that you called out specifics. I wasn't going to. I'm glad you did. I try
it
not
needed to be said.
But you know what? I do think, and shout out to Panthers Twitter. Shout out to everybody who is a part of Panthers Twitter and folks who stream and YouTube. We see you guys. You guys are some of our biggest supporters. So thank you. Sometimes people just say stuff to get interaction, y'all, and y'all give them exactly what they want. Sometimes you just gotta let stupidity ride. You just gotta.
Sometimes I don't want to be the bigger person, Vashti.
Well, we know you'll go down. You'll go. Listen, I don't say no. I am not the type of person who is when they go low, I go high. I'm not that person. But I'm saying if sometimes that interaction is exactly what they want. They say that stuff just for clicks. So
yeah. I agree.
So Jordan Love
he's been pretty adamant though. He's been doubling down on it. He's pretty adamant about it though.
Jordan Love threw for. I hear echo.
Y'all hear echo?
You hear Nico?
I do, but maybe not. Jordan Love threw for 360 yards and 3 touchdowns yesterday. On the ground, Green Bay had 94 rushing yards. But passing yards is crazy. JC gonna have his work cut out for him. That back end. Listen, if the pass rush is non-existent, it's gonna be a long day in Lambeau. It's gonna be a long day in Lambeau. I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure. It is going to be a long day. Mike Jack is definitely going to need to stretch, hydrate. JC Horn is going to need to stretch, hydrate. And to be honest with you, the pass rush hasn't been their strong suit. They were stuffing people on the ground, the Panthers. The run defense has been kind of their bread and butter. They weren't particularly getting after the passer. Dak Prescott had forever and a year to throw. And that does put a big strain on the back end. So it's going to be very interesting. Jordan Love is going to take those shots. He's going to take those shots down the field. And he should. And he should.
And he should. And that's where you gotta.
Where JC shows you guys why y'all paid him.
Y'all know who cooked though for Green Bay. Their tight end. This is where
Achilles heel.
This is where if you are Evero, right? And we have said this, Evero has head coaching aspirations. Period. It's written all over his press conferences, everything. He wants to be a head coach in this league. This is where tight ends have been killing the Panthers all year. You got to figure that out.
The tight ends have been killing the Panthers for 3 seasons.
Went for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. A tight end.
Well, that has been the Achilles heel of that defense.
Absolutely.
Because the middle of the field is wide open. Every play. Every single play. You get these streaking tight ends every single play. Every tight end. The only team that hasn't mastered how to use their tight end against the Panthers is the Atlanta Falcons. And the day that they remember that they have Kyle Pitts on their team, it's going to be some hell to pay on Twitter. When they remember that they have Kyle Pitts on their team, if they utilize him the way that these other teams have utilized their tight ends, what team was it? I want to say, was it Jacksonville where their tight end scored the first 2 touchdowns?
Yeah.
Might have been. It was one of those first 2 weeks. I want to say it was Jacksonville. But it's
been an issue. They were cooked the first few weeks by tight ends, period.
Yes. It's been 3 seasons of that. So the fact that you haven't adjusted to be able to cover these pass catching tight ends is concerning. So again, y'all, I am not an Evero hater. When they asked me if I was ready to give flowers last week, Vashti, what did I say?
You said maybe a couple roses.
Maybe a couple roses. Yeah, that's still where I am until he's able to make these adjustments. And you're not going to shut everybody down. Let's be clear. You're not going to shut every team down. But until he shows that he can make in-game adjustments to fit what the offense is showing and to combat what the offense is showing, I can't give him the full bouquet yet. And you can't let anybody rush for 200 yards on you. You definitely can't get a bouquet of flowers from me.
Well, Plymouth said, is it a scheme or issue at linebacker? I think it's a combination.
It's a combination for sure. I think that we saw flashes with Rose Boom after they took that green dot away. It was almost like the responsibility was just a little bit too much for him. I think that Trevin is continuing to develop. I mean, he's only in his 2nd year, and I think he's going to be a great linebacker for the Panthers as he continues to develop. But outside of Rose Boom and Trevin, name the other linebackers on the Panthers roster. You got Sherilus.
Yeah, Sherilus. They elevated this week Nkoum.
You have Thomas Nkoum. Yeah, and I mean it just has always been, again, that defense was the worst in the NFL. It was historically bad last year. They needed significant improvements at basically every level of the defense. You had a couple of pieces in, you had Mike Jack and you had JC Horn, but then there was depth issues after them. In the safety room, you brought in Trayvon Merrick. You having to start Nick Scott. So that's make of that what you will.
Are you shading Nick Scott?
Make of that what you will. You had to start Nick Scott. We knew that linebacker room was thin. They went heavy on that D-line. They went heavy in the trenches, and those free agency signings, they needed to, and those free agency signings helped a lot. But again, this wasn't a 1-year fix. It was not a 1-season fix. And it's saying Dan Morgan, former linebacker, has to got to find us what do y'all want him to do? Go create the player?
Well, somebody made a point. There was another comment that said when Josie when they should have been on the market. I actually thought they would bring somebody in.
I think they were trying to. Because you got to think about it. Free agency is free will. Yeah. They have to want to sign here.
They were trying.
They were trying.
Yeah,
so they're trying. And I don't think that the linebacker room is the holes on the defense aren't for a lack of trying. But again, we knew that this would not be a one off-season fix. Historically bad defense. I mean, the defense was horrendous. They made vast improvements. I will say that there was nobody that they brought in free agency that has been a bust on defense. You can argue Christian Roseboom, but Christian Roseboom is who he was. You knew who he was. You had film on him. You had film on him. You knew he wasn't about to come out there and be a Thomas Davis. You knew he wasn't about to be a Luke Kuechly. You knew that. But again, we'll see what they do with this trade deadline. But I don't know a lot of, super high profile linebackers that they can go and get, honestly.
Well, are the Panthers in a position where they need to make a move during the trade deadline?
I don't think
they're 4-4. I mean, I feel like if you make a move at the trade deadline, you feel like you have a playoff team. I think that the Panthers are on the cusp and they could fall into, because the NFC South is, not the greatest, right? And you got Tampa that's reeling from injuries right now. So, they could fall off. They could lose a couple. But they did beat New Orleans 23-3. So who knows?
It's New Orleans.
But this is something that I'm. What?
Did you see that diabolical interception that Spencer Rattler threw? So I don't even think we can gauge that. We ain't even gonna talk about. Well, you know what? I guess a win is a win is a win in the NFL.
Yeah,
so
I didn't see it. I heard they did bench him, but I mean, unless you think that your team is a playoff team solidly, I don't know if you really are aggressive at the trade deadline. I mean,
I don't think they have to be aggressive. You don't want to make a rash trade that puts you behind the sticks in when it's time for the draft. And I'll say this, Dan Morgan has been really diligent about recouping a lot of that draft capital that got traded away in the years before he got here. So I don't think that he's just freely throwing picks out there. And I don't think that they're going to, like you said, make a rash decision where it's I don't think they're going to bet the farm on anything right now at the trade deadline. I don't see a linebacker that they can really go out there and get without leveraging something else that they really, everything that they have on that team right now, they need.
Yeah. And that comment, he did try to go after Patrick Queen. I think that, no aggressive, no reason to be aggressive this year. I agree with that. Listen, Dan Morgan said from the get, 3 years. He needed 3 years, not 3 years to 3 years to get this team where they would be competitive and a playoff caliber team. He's in year 2. And
very reasonable.
He's done a good job. He's in year 2. This team is better. Bryce Young is better. Bryce Young has weapons. They got to fix that run, but the defensive line is better. Now you go out and you fix some other spots during the offseason. And so, give Dan 3 years.
I think that was a reasonable request. It wasn't over aggressive. It wasn't overly optimistic. It wasn't overly pessimistic. I think that was a very reasonable timeline given what the state of the team when he got it, because he got the team again completely depleted, had to start from scratch, and he did not have a lot of draft capital to go and do. They didn't have a first round pick. They had to trade up into that last slot to draft Xavier Legette. So I think that he had very reasonable expectations, and I do think that this is a reasonable trajectory that this team is on. Is that game Sunday disappointing? Absolutely, but at least that game was a winnable game going in. That wasn't a game that was like, oh, Bill's coming in about to beat up on the fan. Nobody expected 40-9. I didn't expect 40-9. Even if you expected them to lose the game, you expected it to be competitive. And I think that says a lot about where this team is right now, is that was at least a winnable game. And it should have been a winnable game.
It should have been a winnable game. All right, guys. we are at an hour. We try to keep these things a little short. We usually do a dripping or tripping, but I could not get the photos together. So we'll be back with them next week. Honestly, these guys not coming in with the fits like I feel like they should. It's not giving this year.
It's giving lunch pail. It's giving.
It's giving trade and try on. Like it's really giving trade and try on at 1:00. Like
very, very business casual.
It really is. So, but we will still nonetheless talk about that. We will be back next week. Mondays are going to be our days/nights. Y'all give us the comments. Do you like at night or do y'all prefer during the day? I mean, we got 2,100 people in here, so this 7:00 spot might be our sweet spot right here, before the Monday night game.
Everybody's off work.
Yeah. Make sure you guys are subscribing to our YouTube. We'd like to get to 1,000 subs ASAP. And we appreciate all the support. 2,100 people is crazy. So thank you all. Make sure you're following us, Sheena at Sheena_Marie3 on Twitter and Instagram, and keep blitzing on Twitter and Carolina Blitz on Instagram. We appreciate all of your support, guys. Make sure you're following us all through the week for your Carolina Panthers content. Bye, guys.